A very good morning to you from wherever you are watching us on this, the 13th day of September 2012. This is KTN Sunrise Show. My name is Aaron Ocheng, and I'm joined in the studio with Martin Mutua. Martin Mutua is a Standard newspaper deputy news editor. We're here to discuss issues that have dominated the headlines in the political arena. But before we get to politics, Martin Mutua, perhaps we could start with what's happening in the Tana Delta. Over 200 lives lost. Security situation seems not to be getting its hand on Tana River. Let me start by posing a question to you. Is Tana River Delta situation getting out of hand?
It got out of hand a long time ago. It's only now that we've been speaking about it here. Even last time when we were here, we spoke about it. Because it started with just one herder being shot dead. Then you had a retaliation. Then before we knew it, 50 people were dead, and the government was silent, went to slumber. And before we knew it, the guys were planning again, and the war drums were beating all over. And before we knew it, another 30 people were dead. And even as people are making these cries to try and seek a solution from government, they were still like not even bothered. The president issued a curfew. Even as he had issued a curfew, the following morning, 4 people were dead. How do you explain that kind of lackluster within the government security? It does not add up. Something is extremely very wrong, and there is need to get to the root of this matter.
And of course, a lot of finger pointing to the executive, especially the president and the prime minister, being silent on this matter until yesterday, and is when the president actually met the coastal MPs, and actually we saw him trying to sort of contain the situation by saying additional security forces are going to be sent to. Is it a move too late by the president?
It is a move too late, as you can put it, because he didn't need to meet the people of, the coast MPs to stop the violence. Once, every single life is sacred. Human life is sacred. Even if you lose just one person, you cannot afford to do that, because the moment one person has died, the government is to be blamed, because they're the ones who have the power and the machinery to restore to secure a particular area. Security of Kenyans is paramount, and it's not negotiable. It is the domain of the government, because that is what they have been given they have been mandated by the Constitution to guarantee the security of every Kenyan in this country. So by the fact that they will let 100 people die, it does not make sense. I'm telling you, in a civilized society, you'd have the minister in charge of internal security resign, the commissioner of police himself would also be sent packing, and you'd have a total reorganization of the entire security apparatus. Even in some instances, I've seen even the president himself is forced to resign, because you can't let 100 people die and you're still sitting pretty where you are in your comfort zone. Then what are you doing? What governance are you offering the people? It does not make sense at all. So this Tana thing has gotten out of hand. Yet there are so many gaps and so many loopholes, as you can see. I was very disgusted yesterday when I heard one of the police spokesmen saying that they had been waiting for a cabinet approval to be able to deal with the matter. How do you wait for a cabinet approval to deal with criminals? It is not normal. He's adding insult into injury, and is actually making it worse for the people of Tana River. You cannot say that.
What Charles Otieno was saying yesterday is that police have been reluctant to use excessive force because they are fearing perhaps what happened in 2008, incrimination of the police.
That's absolute nonsense, Aaron. Let me tell you from the outset, it's absolute nonsense. When you have people with guns and people with machetes, they are going slaughtering people in a village. You are waiting for a cabinet approval to deal with that kind of situation? That is all nonsense. If there is a criminal act that is being committed, it is a duty of the police to to meet it with equal measure, so that after that, you can be able to talk about anything else. But you can't wait for people to die, then you say you're waiting for a cabinet approval. It does not make sense at all.
And the discussion about deployment of the army to Tana River. Of course, Parliament, asked the president for his hand in deploying an army to Tana River. Do you think we need the military, the army wing of the military, to go to Tana River?
If by the fact that we are talking about deploying the military, it's an admission that the police has failed. That is the other side of the situation. It means that the police has failed, then we need the military. Is that the situation? Then if a police cannot, the work of the police is to contain matters to do with internal security. The work of the military is to deal with external aggression. So if we are deploying military within our own area, within the internal security, it means our police force is overwhelmed and is not fit to do the kind of work they're supposed to do. You saw what happened is when things got out of hand in Mount Elgon.
Yes,
that's where the military was deployed, and it was understandable because the situation had totally gotten out of hand, and there was a totally well-organized ragtag militia that was going about maiming the lives of Kenyans in that particular area. Then the military had to come in, because now when you have an organized group that is dealing with that kind of situation and is sophisticated, then the police cannot handle it. The military will do that. I don't think the situation in Tana River would have escalated to the proportions to require a military operation.
Because we've not heard of any ragtag militia in Tana River. I think this is just the clans fighting each other, stealing cattle, maiming people because of some issues to do with...
on the surface, it might look like that. But I don't believe, I think it's more than that. That's why, because if people are fighting for pasture and water, you can't leave 100 people dead on the ground because you're looking for pastures for cows and stuff like that. That is not possible. There must be, I think there are other overtones that we are not looking at. And that's why there is need for the government to dig deeper and be able to find out exactly what is the root cause of this. If it's about pasture and water, why can't the government address that kind of thing once and for all? And why, in the past 4 years, why haven't we had them fighting and killing each other? Why now, when we are headed towards the elections, why are there so much activity in terms of all that kind of a situation? I don't, in my view, if you asked me, I don't think it's about pasture and stuff like that. There's more than meets the eye in what is happening there.
Okay, and yesterday, the pass-out parade of General Service Unit wing of the police, they're saying all the trainees who graduated yesterday are going to be deployed to Tana River. Do you think the additional 1,100 might be able to contain the situation?
First of all, the government and the president and whoever who is in charge of security, they do not need to come to the public to tell us we are deploying 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. That is their work in the first place. They ought to be there to be able to contain the situation. They don't need to tell us. We need to see action. We need to see that something is being done. If they contain the situation, we don't care how many police officers they deploy there. That's not our business. They can deploy even 2 or 3 police officers. If they contain the situation, well and good. They can deploy 1,000 police officers and nothing happens. You see the continuation of killings. That is not within the domain of the public to know how much security they are deploying there. It is within that's an administrative matter for their own situation. They don't need to come out and tell us, because you've been even hearing some of the ministers in government trumpeting this issue, calling on the government, talking in public rallies, in funerals, about the same thing that is happening there. Who are they telling? Why would you go to a public rally or a funeral and start calling on the government to act? And you are within the same government. You are supposed to be pushing your government within the realm of your circles to be able to deal with that situation. Don't go to public rallies and funerals and start talking about that issue. People do not want to hear that. They want to see action being taken. Okay. That is it.
We really do hope that maybe in the next few days the situation will be contained. But moving on now into politics. Last Sunday saw a new entrant into the presidential race, Cyrus Jirongo, just 7 days after another presidential aspirant, Charity Ngilu, declared that she's also interested in running for the presidency. We are seeing the number of presidential aspirants growing up. What do you make of, first of all, before we dwell to any of these candidates, what do you think of the number that we have so far, the presidential aspirants?
Well, first of all, Aaron, it's the right of every Kenyan to seek any public office. It is within their constitutional mandate and constitutional right, to be able to, whatever position you feel that you want to take, that is within your right. If you feel you're going to to make an impact in a position that you are seeking is well and good. It's for you to convince Kenyans that you are the right person for that particular position. So the fact that more numbers are growing and we are seeing a lot of people seeking presidential position is telling. You can look at it twofold. Some have been having the zeal to do it, but on the flip side is that there could be political games being played. You would see maybe people are trying to raise their stakes because in some areas, if you do not go up maybe in a particular position, you might be rendered irrelevant. So some of them are just trying to raise their political profiles. So
and
that
others are also playing spoilers.
Yes, they could be, but the others are playing, I mean, you raise your profile so that when it gets nearer to an election, you can be able to bargain and maybe seek some alliance with fellows you think are going to have a higher chance than you. So in that way, you will still remain relevant in the political scene.
So you are foreseeing a situation where all these numbers might not end up in the ballot.
Exactly, that is for sure. Not all of them will end up because, Aaron, this is a major gamble because if you look at the arrangement that we have now in the political scene, is that once you are not, if you vie for the presidency and you lose, you'll be in political oblivion for the next 5 years. You will not be anywhere else. So I don't think anyone would want to be in political oblivion. You gamble with your political status and then end up in the political dustbin. It does not add up. So there are games that they are playing, and Kenyans will find out.
Let's start with the Charity Ngilu, who's declared 2 weeks ago. She is in the race. She's been a strong supporter of Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Exactly.
And now she's stepping out and saying, I can't do it myself. What do you think is the impact of having Charity Ngilu in the ballot?
First of all, if you look at her home turf, what has been doing around there, they're twofold. First, she's being accused of trying to spoil for the vice president and eating into the
Kamba vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in her own right, she also has her own supporters whom she I'm telling you, she's able to galvanize and move ahead. But you do not just need the vote in Ukambani alone to be able to get the presidency. You require the entire country. If you look at the situation that has been there, the other presidential candidates have been moving since the beginning of even this year, and they have been campaigning throughout, and they have been moving around the country. So her entry it could be also looked at in that light, that she has her own way of trying to raise her profile. Because if you look at the politics in Ukambani, even in the last elections, if there have always been supremacy battles between her and the VP. Yes. So if none want to play the second fiddle, so if you play second fiddle, you'll be buried by the other one. So I think both of them are trying to raise their profile, and everybody wants to make sure that they are looked up as the real leaders.
And also we also have a Charity Ngilu's aspect as a woman running, and we also have another person who is also a woman running, Martha Karua. Do you think now Martha Karua should be worried just in case there were people who are going to vote based on gender aspect? Now they'll have two options here.
No, I don't think Martha should be worried, because she declared early and she moved. She has actually, I think she has almost captured she has campaigned in the entire country. She started early and she's been moving. But give it to Charity, because Charity also, this is not the first time she's running. She was the first woman to run for presidency in this country. That was in 1997. She ran for presidency and she made her own mark. So in terms of eating into the women folk vote, I don't think so, because you even find most of the time, even majority of women do not even vote for women themselves, women candidates. They even just vote for males. So I don't think they are running on the platform of being women. They're just running on the platform of leadership. If they go that direction, then they're bound to get more votes, as opposed to if they attempt to run because they're running because they're women.
When William Ruto left ODM, there was so much hullabaloo about his departure. The same as Musalia Mudavadi. But when Charity Ngilu declared her presidency, we've seen ODM taking it lightly. Does it show that, okay, even if Charity Ngilu has left ODM, we still will still marshal support, or she didn't have so much impact in ODM? Or do you think ODM is having some hidden agenda in Charity Ngilu's presidential bid?
But first of all, Charity Ngilu is not in ODM. Yeah. Her party is NAC. She has always been in NAC. And that's the ticket President Kibaki used in 2002 to win the presidency. And she has maintained it throughout. It's only that when she won her constituency seat, she worked alongside the Prime Minister, and that's how she got picked for cabinet position, because she was working along with the Prime Minister, though she's in NAC. But in terms of cooperation, they've been having very good working relations with the Prime Minister, so you would not expect, even when she bolts out, that they would speak ill of her, because she has never spoken ill of the Prime Minister. So, you would not know what kind of games they are playing either, because by the fact that if they get towards the polls and they feel that they would need to support the Prime Minister to be able to rally against their opponent, maybe those are the deals that are going to be cut. Believe you me, 3 months to the elections, there will be alliances that will be formed, because according to the Constitution, you require, the Elections Act, you require to deposit a pact and make it public before the elections, 3 months before a pre-election pact. So that is something that they're going to put together. And that's when things will become clear. Right now, I think guys are just trying to raise their profiles.
Okay, now let's move to Cyrus Jirongo, who declared last Sunday that he's running. Now, Cyrus Jirongo just adds up to so many numbers of presidential aspirants from Western Kenya region. Yeah. Why is so many members of parliament from Central Kenya now deciding that we are going for the presidency? And
yes,
what is the impact of Jirongo in that scenario? Okay,
first you had Eugene, who had showed some interest, then he declared. But then the entry of Musalia Mudavadi complicated issues. Yeah. Now Jirongo comes in. Jirongo has never had any love lost with Musalia. So I think if Musalia goes this way, Jirongo would always go the opposite side. So I'm sure for him, he has been a very fierce critic of Musalia. So in the fact that he has come into the politics, I don't think in terms of the Western vote, he's going to make a major impact. Already there are those who have been there, like if you say Wamalwa has his own, has cut a niche within the areas in Bungoma and that areas like those ones. And then Kakamega and the other part, you've seen Musalia is almost having a head start. So in terms of coming in between Jirongo, I think his candidature, in my view, I don't think is having a major impact in Western Province.
And also remember, there's also Wetangula.
Wetangula has gone quiet. Yeah. He has not made any. He has not showed that he's going to actually run with all this crowded field. I think he has taken a backseat. I'm sure he'll want to take another position. Maybe he'd run for governor or senator in that area, but I doubt for now that he's because he would have shown any interest in terms of trumpeting for himself, but he has not come out clearly to show which direction he's going. So, and I think with time is running out, I don't think there will be any other opportunity for him to do so. And even if now anybody declares, you'll be deemed as a Johnny come lately who has an ulterior motive. So in those circumstances, for now, I guess we have those three in Western, but the front runner already is Musalia with Eugene on the side. But all of them, they have their own strength and their own weaknesses. So it is whatever positions that they are gunning for, how their opponents are going to capitalize on their strengths or weaknesses is what is going to decide on how they move forward.
Okay, moving ahead. In just a few days, we'll be having by-elections in Diwa, Kangema, and Kajiado North, and candidates have been traversing different areas of vote hunting. We've seen a prime minister also moving around with ODM candidates. We've seen Uhuru Kenyatta doing the same. Uhuru Kenyatta was in Kisumu a few days ago, and he was well received. He went to Ndiwa, he campaigned well. The same day, Prime Minister was meeting businessmen from Kiambu County. Are we seeing political maturity now as we head to elections?
I would love to say so.
Yeah.
And I would wish that happens. I wish that continues even as we get to the next election, because that's the kind of situation we require in this country, that anybody can go anywhere and be able to campaign freely without being harassed, without being heckled, without being stoned. That is the way to go. If we move towards that direction and ensure that things happen like that, then we are moving towards the right direction. And I hope that the people who call the shots in terms of pulling strings for their supporters wherever they are not showing that this is just a smokescreen, and they are not just giving public false hope. I hope people will not be instigated to stone or heckle other opponents when they go campaigning in the areas. And what we saw in Kisumu was actually very welcome. I hope, exactly. If Uhuru Kenyatta can step in there and campaign and live without any problem, that is good enough. And if other people can also go into Central Province, go to Coast, go to Eastern, go to everywhere they want without being harassed or violence occurring, then the government must maintain that. Kenyans must accept to move towards that direction, and that's the only way to go.
Okay. Now, Kajiado North seems to be like a hotly contested seat because the TNA candidate Ole Sakuda and the ODM candidate Ole Mositet seem to be neck to neck in terms of the way people are seeing them pulling crowds and even the campaigns that they are running. Now, do we see a situation now in Kajiado North where probably Ole Sakuda, who people may think he was a favorite based on the fact that he was neck to neck with the late George Saitoti, losing out this thing to ODM?
Yeah, Ole Sakuda that time, he was in ODM, and he ran against Saitoti, who was in PNU. And somehow he had managed to get a hold on that constituency. But since he moved to TNA and ODM got another candidate, and also TNA has also another candidate, things are different. And when in terms of how the campaigns are being managed in that area, it is a bit delicate. So that is a seat that can go either way. It can go ODM, it can go TNA, it can go the other way. So it's not a given constituency, if you ask me. I don't see any front runner there. And in terms of how the voting patterns are going to be, it might shock people. The same thing, I think, with Kangema. And Ndhiwa is also a bit complicated, but always, I'm sure, because I'm told the Prime Minister will be there on Saturday. That will be his last stop. And today is I think, in Kajiado and these other places. So in terms of how they're going to whether the campaigns are going to sway the voters is something that we will need to see. The by-election itself is on Monday. So it is going to be a very interesting kind of by-election. I hope just IEBC keeps that on town.
Yeah, Kangema, I think it will be a race between the Kikuyu presidential aspirants who have declared from the Central Kenya. I think TNA versus KNC, Peter Kenneth's party, and Martha Karua also having a hand there. And all of them are seeing this seat as a test for their supremacy in Central Kenya. What do you think?
It could be seen in that light, but also you have a UDF candidate in Kangema, who I'm told, has been doing very well. So it's something that is also posing ripples within TNA. But I mean, this will be, if they win that seat, that will be their first MP in Parliament, because TNA does not have an MP. It was just mooted the other day. So for them to win any seats among the three by-elections, it will be a plus for them. If they do not get anything from the three, then they will be in big trouble, because they will be sending a different message.
And in Ndhiwa, we are seeing a lot of people assume that ODM will have a smooth ride in Ndhiwa. That is not happening in Ndhiwa, because all these other candidates are saying that probably the ODM candidate did not get that ticket genuinely. And they're teaming up with the KANU candidate, and we are seeing even the KANU officials are really campaigning for him in Ndhiwa, and he has support. Do you think ODM will get a surprise shock in Ndhiwa?
I would not be shocked if that happened in Ndhiwa. But always in those parts of the country, you find most of the time it has been perceived that ODM has an upper hand. But in South Nyanza, I would not be surprised if if they pulled a surprise in terms of voting for somebody else. That I would not be, even if the ODM candidate won, I don't think he will do that with the landslide. The other candidates will have put up a show. So it will also give us a clear indication in terms of how other people, how people are thinking that part of the country. So it's something that we are looking forward to see on Monday, how it goes.
Okay. Now, just to wind up, we've not seen opinion polls of late of all the presidential aspirants on how they are running. But we've seen Musalia Mudavadi really campaigning and moving to other parts of the country. We've seen a TNA candidate and also the William Ruto really campaigning. Now, ODM aspirant Raila Odinga is perceived to be a front runner in this race. What would you gauge his performances right now? Do you think Raila Odinga could be gaining or could be losing ground as we head to election?
First, we don't need an opinion poll right now because that's going to send very bad signals and it might sway the public toward the wrong direction. First, in my view, my worry is not even who is a front runner. My worry now is how is IEBC preparing these elections? We are in my mind, I believe there's something that is absolutely very wrong in terms of how we are preparing the
And in fact, the biometric voter registration debate just fizzled.
That's where I'm headed to. We hyped that matter and we spoke about the BVR. Everybody has gone silent. We were told Canada and Kenya government were getting into an agreement to bring this equipment. We are 6 months to an election. There has been no voter registration in this country. There is that issue of BVR has died. Then there is the issue of ensuring that the voter registers are in place. There is absolutely nothing. IEBC itself is quiet. My very good friend Isaac Hassan has not given us a roadmap towards the next election. We are having some serious problems in terms of the constitution. There's that fear that there's a constitutional crisis being mooted in terms of the current boundaries are not aligned to the constitution, the electoral boundaries that were created. So in essence, Parliament needs to come, to pass a legislation, a constitutional amendment bill to align these electoral new constituencies. That is not happening. I'm told Parliament might go on recess today. When they come back, it will be the end of October. Nobody will be thinking about anything in Parliament. Everybody will be moving helter-skelter to look for their votes in terms of the position that they want. There's a problem that we are not addressing. IEBC is not telling us what they are doing.
And of course, there's also the issue of voter the civic education. Because we are heading to election where people are going to see very new things. There is no civic education going on right now.
Exactly. You need to tell people there will be 6 new positions to be voted for. You have the president, deputy president, you have the governor, the senator, you have the county representatives. We are not being told how are people going to vote. There is absolutely silence. In my mind, if we don't look up, we are not watching out. There are people who could be scheming to ensure that elections are not held in March. They will either be postponed to August, in my view. It's not something to laugh about, Aaron. It is a reality. Because if you do not have all these things in place, when we get towards the election time, people will not be ready. That will be room enough to ask for another postponement so that we can have those elections pushed forward so that IEBC can be able to prepare itself. So either IEBC is being set up for failure or IEBC itself is part of the problem. This confidence we've been putting on IEBC, we must hold them to account. Something is wrong and we must beat the drums right now so that things are set in place. IEBC must come out today or even soonest this week and tell us what is happening. I know they will say they are bogged down with the by-elections, which are on Monday. That is understandable. But you can't lose sight of the main thing. As PLO says, we cannot be distracted by dashing squirrels and lose sight of the antelope.
And of course, there were also demonstrations. There were demonstrations in Washington, D.C. by Kenyans living in America. They were saying, up to now, they are not sure if they will participate in the
They don't know. The diaspora vote. They don't know where they are going to vote. But Parliament has to pass some legislation to the election rules, which are not even in place, and they're supposed to be there 3 months before the election. They have not been passed. So they need to tell us How are the people in the diaspora going to vote? Will they vote at the embassies? Will they vote at what centers are there? Secondly, will they vote for the presidency only, or will they vote for all these other candidates?
Yeah.
They need to know. All these things are in the dark, and nobody is talking, and they're waiting. As soon as we get towards the election time, when the crisis is there, then they'll start pretending to manage that crisis. We cannot be a country of managing things by crisis.
All right. We really do hope that IEBC has a formula to get out of this impasse. Of course, we will be continuing with this discussion next week. We are out of time. Thank you, Martin Mutua, for finding time to be with us this morning. Well, that was Martin Mutua, the Deputy News Editor for the Standard newspaper, giving us a brief on what's happening in the political scene. My name is Aaron Ocheng, and on behalf of all the crew of the Sunrise KTN Sunrise, have a very good morning and a blessed day ahead.